Give me the lunch money. Oh, classic. All right, okay. So talk about Hitler's expansion into France, right? We talked about how he took over France in how long? How long did it take? 1940. How long did it take? Chris?
35 days.
Yeah, a little bit over a month, right? So with that, again, he's kind of seen as this hero of the day, right? Where German nationalism would be spread. That's why all these videos were taken, all these pictures were taken. As he had France surrender where? France surrender. Connor? Yeah, the wagon of Compiègne. Good job. The rail car. And he had ordered his troops to pull that rail car out of the museum. That was close by, right? And to try to put it right in the exact same spot. Throw salt in the wound. Get back at him. Revenge, right? All right, anyway. So with this invasion, I didn't get to mention this. I mentioned the other classes here, but how did Germany attack France? How did they attack? Was it similar like World War One? Oh, okay, yeah, Blitzkrieg attacks, but how did they invade France? Which way did they go? Did they go right through the Maginot Line? Remember that heavily defended area? Where'd they go? Where'd they go, Chris?
They went through Belgium.
Again? All right, good. So yeah, on the Friday video lesson, I detailed that, right? And how Germany invaded through Belgium. And they attacked France through Belgium, through the Low Countries. Yeah, Luxembourg's there, Netherlands, okay? And with these blitzkrieg attacks, it was just unfathomable because there's a forest right through there called the Ardennes. The Ardennes forest right in here. France didn't expect them to attack through there. And yeah, they went through Belgium. Again, what was that invasion called in World War I? Do you remember? Maybe you'll need to know this for the final. Final? Oh, hard. Paul?
Well, I know what your brand was called.
What was it called? Yeah, good job. The Sleeping Planet. What a good name, right? Okay, so you can see how now it worked. Okay, and for Germany, they took over more land within a week than Germany did in World War I. So it just goes to show here that Hitler's touting his horn, taking pictures in front of the Eiffel Tower and sending them back home, parading around back home as this hero of the day. Okay, all these promises he set out as he's becoming the supreme leader, he's following through, and then some, right? There he already did defeat France within a little bit over a month. All right, so real quick here, Battle of Britain, the Blitz, Operation Sea Lion was in full effect. Did Germany actually invade Great Britain? Did they do it, Paul? No, they didn't. Why not?
Too much resources.
Yeah, good job, right? So here, Germany has all this land here, okay, all this land here in Europe, and all the way up here in Norway and Denmark. So they have vantage points when you look at the North Sea. You look here in the English Channel. They could maybe potentially set up an invasion, but they didn't do so because it'd be very costly. It would take a lot of resources, a lot of manpower, a lot of casualties. Deaths most likely would come out about an invasion like this. So he decides to do something else. What did he do? What did he do? Connor. What's that? He leaves him alone? Does he? After he does that thing. Well, yeah. After he bombs the heck out of him. Okay, what's that called? What's that called? It's up here. It's short for attack, like we already talked about. Yes, a blitz. Good job. So the blitz, lightning war, right? This lightning warfare here is short for blitzkrieg. He uses the Luftwaffe, the Air Force, the German Air Force, to target key cities all throughout Great Britain. So he's launching from northern France. Okay, launching right here across the English Channel, and targeting key areas all throughout Great Britain. So targets London, targets a lot of these other populated cities. They try to break the will, the morale of the people. And it comes to a point where he destroys much of these cities. A lot of these cities were reduced to rubble. Okay, a lot of the people, day in and day out, for about 7 months, had to endure these constant bombing runs. A lot of these people had to flee to the northern part of Great Britain and the rural areas to try to seek refuge, to try to stay out of these bombing runs. Because Hitler, yeah, he was targeting infrastructure, he was targeting air bases, but eventually that kind of deterred away. Right? He eventually started to target these civilian centers, the civilian populations, to try to break the morale of the British people. But they won't give up, right? They didn't give up. A lot of these people, many parts, yeah, they moved to the northern part, the rural areas of Great Britain. But where else did they seek refuge? Where else did they go to try to stay out of the bombings, the bombing runs of the Luftwaffe? Yeah, subway tunnels, right? So deep under subway tunnels, these people live. Can you imagine that? For more than half a year, living in a subway tunnel, and then you come up to the surface, your house is destroyed, your whole city's destroyed, leveled. But somehow, right, some of these industries, these factories, stayed open. They continued to pump out supplies and armaments and even airplanes to fight off the Luftwaffe. So the Royal Air Force did a really good job of combating the Luftwaffe in the sky. Also, the use of what? To pick out and find these airplanes far over the English Channel was very useful, beneficial for the Royal Air Force. Connor? Radar. Yeah, radar. Good job. So for Great Britain, they technically win this conflict, even though a lot of their major cities were destroyed by these bombing runs. So they win this battle. Okay, they win this this aerial battle over top of Great Britain, downing a lot more planes, causing a lot of damage to the Luftwaffe, the Air Force, and for Hitler, losing a lot of resources and men. Right, it comes to a point, right, where eventually Hitler will say, yeah, we're done here. Okay, we're done. In all reality, is Great Britain a threat to Hitler right now? Are they? All? No, they're isolated, right? They're pretty much just left there in the North Sea region, the Atlantic Ocean here. And they're not causing much of a threat for Germany. But one thing to note, Churchill, okay, motivating the British people to continue to fight, to not give up, to not surrender. And he's begging FDR to get involved, which the United States, we're going to talk more about today, stays out of it. Right? They stay out of it. Okay. But with that, now Hitler, because he just can't overtake Great Britain, he can't defeat this Western power, he decides to look elsewhere. Where does he look now? Where does he look and then maybe try to invade, take over? The true enemy of fascism, right? The true enemy of Nazism. What is it? Parker? Who is it? The Soviet Union. Yep, good job. The what? The communists, right? Okay, good. All right, so that's where we're moving. That's where we're shifting. Now we're going to look towards the United States. We're going to see what's going on with them, why they're not joining in, and we'll finish up tomorrow. We'll talk about Pearl Harbor, okay, and what ultimately drags the United States in to this conflict. All right, so your terms for today. I actually have an assignment for you, too. Whoa, cool. Maybe 2 minutes. I don't know. We'll see. I'm just joking. I'll try to give you some time here. All right, we got FDR, Franklin Roosevelt, Neutrality Acts, the 1930s. There are multiple Neutrality Acts, and then finally the Lend-Lease Acts, close to 1940, 1941 here, where we had no other choice. Great Britain's just holding on by a thread. They need some sort of help. They need some sort of assistance. So there you go. Hello? No, really. Let me check here. I thought I hit save. Hmm. I don't know. All right. Yep, we're good. Yep. Bye. All right, okay. So for the assignment today, you guys will be looking at some of these political cartoons that detail about the Neutrality Acts of the 1930s. What do you got to say? Do I need to steal your money, Phil? Oh, okay. All right, anyway, so with the Neutrality Acts of the 1930s, this is a way for the United States to try to stay out of this conflict as long as possible. One of the mistakes that the U.S. made in World War I was what? Oz? All right, let's get out of chess. Okay, thanks. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, big deal. Okay, anyway, yeah, I want to see a meme about that later. Okay, so yeah, with the United States building into World War One, building up into World War One, they were trading with not only the Allied powers, but in World War One, Central powers. Good job. So they're trading to both sides, and they look very hypocritical. But they were making a lot of money, and for the United States, there's an opportunity to grow as an industrial power. We talked quite a bit about that, but ultimately that drug us into the war. Okay, that pushed us into this conflict because we were seen as being this supporter of both sides, being a supporter of this war, even though we're saying we want peace. But Congress wants to make sure that we don't ever get involved in another costly conflict, a European conflict, a world conflict. We can stay out of it. Why? How can we stay out of it? What do we have that separates us from Europe and Asia? Connor? Atlantic Ocean. Yeah, Atlantic Ocean and Pacific Ocean. Good job. We have these natural means of defense. We have these natural defenses just already built in. They're oceans. Good. So with that, right? Okay, with that, we talk. Why do you do this?
I didn't even. Okay, I said France thought the Ardennes Forest was a natural defense, but look where
yeah, it didn't work out for them. Okay.
That's what I said.
All right, so with the Neutrality Act,
Do it.
okay, this is for the United States to stay out of this as long as possible. Also, the United States did not join what, which was a creation of Woodrow Wilson, which is another sign of what Congress's ideas of isolation should be. All right, I'll allow you to answer this if you have your hand. Go ahead.
The League of Nations.
Good, the League of Nations. Good, good. So with that, okay, the U.S. after World War I has been trying to stay out as long as possible. All right, so as we're moving closer to World War II and the United States involvement in 1941, the United States had no other choice. Why? Because Great Britain was getting shelled day in and day out by the what? What was that called again? Parker, you said it earlier. The Blitz. Yes, good job. And this is a country here that represents democracy. That represents, okay, what the U.S. is for as well. And if we just allow Great Britain to fall, do we have any vantage point to maybe launch an invasion in Europe to try to fight off these dictatorships? No, we don't. So eventually we'll get to the Lend-Lease Act in the 1940s, which allows the United States to start to trade with Great Britain and these countries that are trying to fight off these totalitarian dictatorships. All right, so here we go. Here's an example of a political cartoon that I'm looking for, on the right, obviously. But in any case here, you can see how the U.S. is looking to stay isolated. It's trying to stay out of this war as long as possible. And the reason for it is because, well, we had a taste of warfare in Europe already in World War I. Trench warfare. Was that pleasant? Was that a great experience? No, it was terrible. Right? It was terrible. Came to the point here where a lot of these soldiers coming home quickly realized that war is not a game. It's not like the splendid little war, right? The Spanish-American War. It is terrible. Trench warfare is brutal. But now all of a sudden, technology has advanced way more since World War I, which we'll talk more about. I kind of mentioned yesterday with the vocabulary of the rockets. But in any case, things have changed quite a bit. So the U.S. trying to stay neutral, stay isolated, stay out of the war as long as possible. So here's a good example of a political cartoon that I'd like you to look up a different one later for the assignment, and you're going to analyze and answer a few questions. But this is something what I'm looking for. As you can see, that's Uncle Sam, right? Sleeping in the bed here, and he's like nice and cozy. He's having a good night's rest. All of a sudden, the bed right next door, Europe. You can see all the countries really having a lot of fits, right? There's a lot of, I guess you'd say, keeping them up at night. So when you look at the Nazi fever, the Blitz, pox, what does it say? Hitleritis. Oh boy, good Lord. What else does it say? Something about red fever. Obviously. Okay. So you can see all that chaos, that anarchy in Europe. And at the same time, we're across the Atlantic Ocean, emphasizing that separation, right? We have our own bed. We're sleeping pretty sound. So that cartoon looks pretty familiar, doesn't it? The detail of it. I'm sure you guys maybe read these books when you were younger. Anybody know the author? Who? No, awesome. Dr. Seuss, good job. So Dr. Seuss was famed in World War II, creating these little cartoons, emphasizing a lot of what was going on in Europe during World War II and even afterwards. But he got his start actually creating these cartoons, detailing about, in this case, the Neutrality Acts. Okay, there's many more, but also many of these other events going on during World War II. So if you guys get a chance, maybe look into one of his cartoons detailing about the Neutrality Acts. There's many of them. Or just maybe another event looking down the road, you can just look at them. They're pretty interesting to see. Anyway, Dr. Seuss. Cool. Moving on. Support or neutrality, very similar like World War I. Okay. There's many people in the United States that wanted to get involved. Interventionists. Oh, we talked about that term already. So we're good with that. But these interventionists wanted us to join. We wanted to try to prevent this chaos, this Nazism, this far-right political ideology spreading across the Atlantic to the United States. Okay, so when it comes down to it, if Great Britain falls, well, we're the next step, right? We are the next target for Hitler. So we need to make sure that we can get involved and try to prevent this spread of Nazism, far-right ideals, and this takedown of democracy before it continues. Right. Also, you got to think too, communism's still there. That's still a true enemy, right, of the United States as well when it comes to democracy, when it comes to capitalism. So that's not good either. Oh, so we got to get over there. We need to start this fight right now. Isolationists, again, says it in the name, stay isolated as long as possible. We have the Atlantic Ocean in between us, and well, we already got involved in World War I. Were we prepared for it? No, we weren't. So what makes it appear that we're going to be ready for World War II? Okay, our military has not really advanced through this time from World War I to World War II. Why not? What was going on? Connor, the Great Depression, good job. So now more than ever, we're really facing some of the hard effects of this depression, right? We are not ready. We're not capable of fighting this war just yet. Also, we didn't get to talk about it too much. Who's over in the Pacific? Who's over in Asia causing a lot of harm, a lot of chaos? I know we mentioned a little bit. Why? Japan. So if we do get involved in this war, chances are we're going to have to fight a two-front war. A two-front war, does that ever pan out or does that ever work out for, let's say, Germany in World War I? No, it didn't really work out for them at all. So for us to do this, it'd be very tough. And think about it, two totally different environments. One being in the islands, one being out in the open water, the Pacific Ocean. The other mostly being land fight in Europe. It'd be tough, tall task. All right, so as you can see, we're building closer and closer with our relationship with Great Britain. Churchill, right? There he is in the picture up with FDR, like Franklin Roosevelt. Okay, there they are, just sitting there talking about this relationship, talking about how the United States can help aid Great Britain when it comes to supplies and military equipment to continue to fight and try to make sure that they can hold on. Because Churchill realizes any more attacks through the Blitz, well, chances are Parliament might actually have a different view, to surrender, to give up, which many of their representatives wanted to do. It was literally just Churchill kind of holding things together and make sure that they don't give up, make sure that they don't surrender. And here he is pleading out to FDR. He realizes the only way that they stand a chance is if they have aid, if they have help, they have any type of assistance from the United States. So he's begging the United States to get involved. But what restricted FDR from helping Great Britain? What restricted them? What were those acts called in the 1930s? One of your vocabulary. Wyatt? The Neutrality Acts, right? So there's only so much you could do. Only so much you could do. So if you guys get a chance, maybe check out that movie, The Darkest Hour, about Winston Churchill during these tough times. There's a specific phone call that he has with FDR, which actually happened, where FDR is like, hey, yeah, there's nothing we can do about it. Sorry. And Churchill looks very uncomfortable. He's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what you can say anything. And FDR is like, well, you can send ships over to Canada and we can maybe just put the equipment on logs and throw them over the border, since we didn't technically drive them over the border, and you can pick them up from there. What? That's not going to work. Why not? What does Germany have out in the waters? Just like in World War One. Connor. U-boats. Yeah. So Churchill's like, oh, forget it. Okay. Well, we're just going to have to try to live on here, continue to fight. All right. So moving on here. Last thing, last slide. Like I mentioned, German U-boats were out in the water. They were still targeting a lot of these cargo ships. They're targeting a lot of ships that Great Britain had because, again, they're an island. They're dependent on the resources coming in. So with Great Britain, right, Germany realizes they can just cut off these supplies, these armaments coming in, and just regular food supplies, resources. Eventually, they're going to starve Great Britain out of this war. Okay, they're going to starve them out, and eventually, who knows, they could probably win. For Hitler, again, we talked about his aims. We talked about his next intentions, his next objectives, which is taking out the true enemy, which is communism, right? And take out the Soviet Union, take out Stalin here. I know we talked about that non-aggression pact. Well, do you think that is anything in Hitler's mind? Do you think he cares about this pact? No. Everything we talked about, the Treaty of Versailles, the Munich Pact, and now here with the non-aggression pact, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, well, he just ripped everything to shreds, right? He just pretty much turned his back on each one of these agreements. And we're going to start here after we talk about Pearl Harbor, the United States entrance into the war, finally, right? We're going to talk about our Operation Barbarossa, which is Germany's plan, their invasion into the Soviet Union, which is the beginning of the end for Germany. All right. Is there any questions? Any questions? So as we're looking into 1940, 1941, FDR is granted the Lend-Lease Act, allowing him to trade with these countries fighting off these aggressive nations like Japan, like Germany, right? And helping aid, let's say, the Soviet Union, China, right? Great Britain with supplies. And Congress is like, we should probably watch out what we do, because if we grant all these powers to the executive branch, the president, what does that show him as? A dictator himself, right? How long did FDR serve as president? Does anybody know? Connor. 12 years. What? Isn't that crazy? Is that crazy? Well, during the Great Depression, during World War II, we wanted to make sure we had someone that was in the presidency for a long, obviously some time, and someone that was consistent, someone that can help us through these tough, difficult times. And after he passed away, there was an amendment that passed that restricted the presidency to 2 terms, right? 4 years long. That's the what amendment? Anybody know? Taylor Swift song. She's feeling what? Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, 22nd Amendment. Good. All right. Is there any questions? Any questions? Good. All right. So here's your assignment. Neutrality Act. All right. Okay. So what I'd like you to do is look for a political cartoon like the one I showed you, detailing about the Neutrality Acts. Oh, don't want to publish that just yet. All right, so you're going to find a political cartoon online. I'd like you to attach it to the assignment somehow. You can just take a screenshot of it, or if you want to just put it on the doc that you answer the questions, that's okay too. Whatever you want to do. And then you're just going to answer these questions pertaining to whatever political cartoon you choose. Try to find something different than the one I showed you, all right? Try to find something detailed about these neutrality acts and how, well, the U.S. wasn't affected like these other European countries, how we can stay separate, how we can stay out of a lot of these issues here. All right, so there you go. That is for tomorrow. We will go over a few of them tomorrow, and we'll talk a little bit about the United States getting more ramped up for war here, right? With the Selective Service Act, again, and, well, Pearl Harbor. So if you just type in online, Neutrality Acts 1930s, you'll find something, I'm sure. Maybe even more of these political cartoons